Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about grading the St. Louis Blues during the pause. Now before we get started, I just want to ask you to please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell which will alert you when my next video comes out, which will be about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now my last review was about the San Jose Sharks. It was kind of like ripping a band-aid off slowly, really. That was a bit of a tough one. But I'm shooting all these videos, all 31 NHL teams that I'm grading in reverse alphabetical order. So I'll start putting up some links to some of those other clubs. Some are up here in the next few minutes, so you can click on those if you like. Now, St. Louis are kind of the team this year that we all thought they would be at the beginning of last year, aren't they? Of course, last year, they were last in the league in January 1st. They fired the coach. They brought in assistant coach Berube. They brought in a goaltender, Binnington, and who just came out of nowhere somewhat, was fantastic. And they played a bit more of a defensive, responsible game. And the rest is history, right? So this year, so far, they've been great. They had maybe a little bit of a blip there in January, and that's been about it. And this is without one of their top, arguable elite players in Tarasenko, who went down with a shoulder injury in October and had surgery and should be back, by the way, if the season does resume, which would be fantastic for them. Now, let's talk about where they are here in the standings. They did win their last game before the pause. They're 8-2-0 in their last 10, and they've got 94 points. They lead the Central, but they're only 2 up on the Colorado Avalanche, who have a game in hand, by the way. Interesting. Yeah, don't take your foot off the pedal there. Now, I'm going to throw some stats at you really quick here, starting with special teams. On the power play, they're 3rd in the league, better than last year. The PK, they're 18th. That's got to improve for the playoffs. Wins, they're 3rd. Points, they're 2nd in the league. Goals for, they're only 12th. Goals against, they're 7th. Shots against per game, they're 4th in the league. They only allow 29.6. The face-offs, they're 6th in the league at that, which really helps on the power play, and you think would help a bit more on the penalty kill, but so far, no show. Now, this team, besides Pietrangelo, doesn't really have an elite player. They just have, a handful of great players and some really good players. And it's worked so far for them. Like lines 1 all the way through 4, and for the most part, their defense have been steady. Now, if you look at the NHL point leaders list, there's not a blue in sight. You have to look to all the way up to number 35, where Ryan O'Reilly sits with 61 points. And then they all start to trickle in. David Perron at number 38. Braden Shen at number 48. Jaden Schwartz at number 49. And so on and so forth. Now, let's touch on the goaltending really quickly here. Let's talk about Binnington, who in 50 games so far this season only has a .912 save percentage. A lot of people were wondering if this guy could do it 2 years in a row. Last season, in 32 games when he came in, had a .927 save percentage. He was a big part of them bouncing back. In the playoffs, he was a .914. That's good enough. Still pretty decent. And with the defense that they were playing. Now, Jake Allen has had a terrific year. Somewhat surprisingly. He's got a .927 save percentage in 24 games. The last couple seasons, he was like a .905, .906. Not even, I think, league average. So, we all know Jake Allen's not going to start in the playoffs, right? So we're all crossing our fingers for Binnington. Now, let's talk about the defense, which has a lot of pieces have been moving in and out of here starting in the fall. There wasn't much changes with this team to start the season. Pat Maroon left. They didn't re-sign him. They're going to miss his big body as a forward player. And they lost depth defenseman Michael Lozado. Ho-hum, right? But then they made this big trade sending Joel Edmondson, one of their best defensive defensemen, big, strong, mean guy, to the Carolina Hurricanes for right shot defenseman Justin Falk. I guess the thinking there was Pietrangelo is going to be UFA at the end of the season. We need some insurance. Not the best insurance. some would say. In 69 games, he's got 16 points and a -3. Mind you, he's been playing top minutes with Pietrangelo a lot of the time, who's been playing the left side instead of the right. So maybe that's a part of it. I mean, last year in 82 games, he had 35 points. He was a +9. Edmondson, on the other hand, not Edmonton, in 68 games with the Carolina Hurricanes, has got 20 points and is a +7. But he's playing more of a depth role there, so you have to take that into consideration. When it comes to other defensemen, Vince Dunn has taken a bit of a step back point-wise this season. 35 points he had last season in 78 games, and 71 he's only got 23, but he's still a +15. So this is a guy who might even play on that first pairing on the left side next season if Pietrangelo walks, because Bouwmeester had a cardiac arrest. I don't know if you forgot about that. That was pretty scary. He's probably not coming back ever, I would think. And he ate a lot of minutes. He ate like over 20 minutes a game. Pietrangelo, by the way, is around 25 minutes. Parenko's around 22-ish. So that's an issue. And so they went out and got Scandella, who's played for 3 different teams, including Montreal and Buffalo so far this season. And they extended him, surprisingly, by 4 years. I would like to see him on the bottom pairing. They have been playing along Perienko on the second pairing so far. That left side is starting to look a little bit rickety, especially if Pietrangelo leaves next season, which can play both sides. So yeah, there's that. Now the last thing I wanted to say about the defense too is they sort of continue to have a lack of offense from it, don't they? Because Pietrangelo's got 55 points this season, and the next best is Perienko with 28. And then Vince Dunn is next with 23. So yeah, so we'll see how that develops this year and next. Mind you, they have a pretty decent prospect pool. The Hockey News ranked them, I think, 21st in the league. And 4 of those guys in their top 10 prospects are left-shot defensemen. So perhaps that was part of the mentality when they were, making trades and moving players around. I just still didn't expect Scandella to stick around for another 4 years. So there should be at least 2 players fighting for a spot on the left side next year, one of them being Nico Mikola and the other being Jake Wallman, both of whom have had a bit of a cup of coffee with the team so far this season. Now, let's talk about offense, the forwards, who I've mentioned pretty much already, but I wanted to bring up Robert Thomas, who's played much better this year. In 66 games, he's got 42 points and is a +9. Quite an improvement from last year, where in 70 games he had 33 points and was a -2. Then there's Kyrou, Jordan Kyrou, who hasn't really done much. Looks like he needs to marinate some more. 16 games, or 28 games, 9 points. And then, of course, they traded Robbie Fabry to Detroit for Jacob Delarose. Delarose, in 34 games, has 5 points. Ho-hum, meh. He's a -1. Mind you, Robbie Fabry is rejuvenated in Detroit. In 52 games, he's got 14 goals, 31 points, but he's a -29. And that's not even anywhere near close the worst on that team. Yeah. There's a lot of guys in double digits in Detroit, but yeah, it shouldn't be a shock to anyone. Now, how do I grade this team here? They'll get their Tarasenko back. That should really help the offense. The left side defense is a bit iffy, maybe, especially when Pietrangelo is gone next year, but that's not what the grade is about. But I also look at Binnington and think, can he do it again? Maybe he's just going through a rough patch. Hopefully he'll bounce back in the playoffs. Will they miss Edmondson and his toughness as well through the, when you're playing like 20, how many games in the playoffs? When you're playing 24 games? Oh my God. Yeah, right around there. 20 games. Vince Dunn. 20 games, yeah. I'll just edit that part out. Now, I got to give them I'll give them an A. I'll cut short just giving the A+. I would love to hear what you would grade this team down in the comment section down below. Now, I've seen recently some more subscribers have been trickling in. I just want to thank you all so much for your support. Once again, that's it. That's all. Please stay safe out there. And if you can, stay home. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.